Senator Whitehouse.
Thanks, Chairman. I assume all of the witnesses agree that PFAS is a dangerous substance. Is that correct?
Correct.
Ms. Poconos, correct?
At certain levels. I mean, when we're talking about lightly contaminated PFAS soil, I guess we need more data and research on that.
But it's a dangerous substance.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, as EPA indicated in its designation of PFAS, the agency has found that it may present a danger to human health and the environment.
And do you all also agree that the prospect of liability is one motivation to clean up that dangerous substance? Agreed?
Yes, we do agree.
Ms. Poconos?
The threat of liability is what is increasing the costs.
But it also is assuring the cleanup. Correct? It's a motivation to do the cleanup? You can't agree with that?
I think it's the EPA designation of the sites will trigger certain cleanup. The threat of liability will cause an increased focus on PFAS, and now it's a fear of whether or not certain materials are going to rope you into Superfund, strict, joint, and several liability.
Ms. Bowers?
Liability certainly could be, or potential liability certainly
motivating
could
factor,
be,
isn't
could
it?
be a motivation, depending on who's performing the cleanup.
I mean, where you have a site that has been contaminated with PFAS, the easy way out would be to just let the poisoned community or neighborhood or facility bear the cost of that contamination in harm to people who live in the community, live in the neighborhood, or use the facility, and would bear the cost in their own health and safety harms. That's obviously not a great solution, and that's the reason that Congress did RCRA, because leaving it to the local community to be poisoned is a bad plan. So we want to make sure we don't work backwards to having these exemptions reopen the path to local communities being poisoned. Do you all agree that exemptions from liability can, if they're done wrong, transfer the harm or cost of PFAS back to the public, as opposed to transfer it among the responsible parties?
Well, we believe, Senator, that very similar to what has happened with CERCLA and Superfund, that the polluter should pay, and that there is sampling and analysis based on what's happened in that environmental area, that contaminated area, that can be traced back to the original polluters or contributory polluters of that area, so that the polluter will pay.
And Ms. Polkonis, it's not the intention of your testimony to transfer the danger of harm related to PFAS back to the exposed public, is it?
No, I mean, we agree with the polluter should pay.
Great. And Ms. Bowers?
When certain parties are exempted from liability under CERCLA, that does, just as a general principle, reduce the number of parties that may be available to pay for cleanup
And the
costs.
question is, does that additional burden of cleaning it up move to other responsible parties, or does it get dumped back on the community, the facility, or the neighborhood that has been poisoned? I would also make, my time is running very short, so let me just say, I'd also make the argument that not only can this be a shift from responsible parties back to the potentially poisoned public, but it can actually worsen the danger if it limits the liability incentive to actually do the cleanup work. So I hope that we can all agree as we work through this problem that two very bad outcomes of our work would be to move liability from responsible parties to the public in the form of additional poisoning and public health harm, or worse still, to not only move that burden back to the public, but to worsen that burden to the public, because the responsibility for the cleanup will have escaped the responsible parties and made things worse. So those are the things I'd like to make sure we avoid, and appreciate my time has expired.